continuance.
Okay, and when we bring that up, Meg, I believe the action deadline will expire, will have expired on 9/11. The next
Okay.
meeting, I believe, is planned for 9/12. So if that is the case, for a continuance, we'll need to extend.
That's fine. I'll get Paul to submit an extension.
Great.
Jot down a note.
And was there, well, again, we can mention this, but there was we're okay with the garage apartment request for 55 Eel Point. That was just
Yeah.
categorized under the wrong, it should be under second dwelling, correct?
That's correct.
Right.
And for the record, John and Megan, I have to recuse on Mid-Island Service Partnership. So if Barry doesn't show up, we'll have to have 2 alternates or whatever we're doing with that.
Okay, thanks, Nat.
Yeah, and I have to recuse from 51 Tennessee Ave, 25 Hummock Pond Road, because I'm a butter, and then 1 Stone Post Way.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Was there 3 there, Joe, that you had? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
1 Tennessee, 25 Hummock Pond, and also, great, and 1
1 Stone Post, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, and I'll make a note of that when it comes up. So, Meg, for the car wash, again, assuming under the assumption that Barry does not show up, then will I be assigning 2 alternates for that? Who sat on the, do you have a record of who sat on the last one? Because I believe Nat had recused himself previously.
Yeah, that was a separate special permit, so it's fine to activate any 2 alternates.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
All right, so I think I don't see Barry. So it's almost 5 after. I think we'll just start the meeting. All right. I'll read through my governor's order. Welcome to the August 8th meeting of the Planning Board. We're conducting this meeting via Zoom webinar and remote participation pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order regarding open meeting law. Board members, when I read your name, please respond that you're in attendance. Dave Iverson.
Here, sorry about that.
Nat Lowell,
Aye, here.
Joe Topham,
Aye.
and did Barry log on? Barry Richter?
Barry's just emailing me right now. He's
Okay.
trying to get in. But he's not here as of yet.
Okay, I'll come back to Barry and make a note when he does log on. Alternates, Paul Borchert,
Here.
Steve Welch,
Here.
Abby D. Moling,
Here.
and obviously the chair is here. For staff, I don't believe we're having Andrew Borser or Leslie Snell being present. Meg Trudell,
Barry's on, John.
great, thank you.
I'm here.
And Catherine Ansaro,
Here.
great. And welcome, Barry. We're just running through the acknowledgement of presence, so just answer here.
Yep, present.
Great. Okay, moving on, I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I'd like a motion for approval of agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved, sir.
Move. Second.
Motion's been made by Barry, seconded by Nat. Roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Now on to the minutes. I believe we have the continuation for June 13th, 2022 and July 11th, 2022. So We don't have to make a motion for that, I don't believe, to continue. Is that correct, Meg?
No, you don't need to motion for that.
Okay.
That's fine.
And as for second dwellings, we are going to actually add a second dwelling that was mislabeled in the garage apartments. It will be for 55 Eel Point Holdings LLC, 55 Eel Point Road, map 32, parcel 47. And before we get into those, we would also note that Joe is going to be recusing himself from the 51 Tennessee Ave and also the 25 Hummock Pond Road for the second dwellings. So if I could, unless there's anybody else that needs to comment or recuse himself from the others, I will hold off on those first two and then read the ones where everyone will be able to vote on, and then we'll make that vote. Is there anyone that needs to recuse on any others? Okay, so I'll just read off what we're looking at right now. 55 Road LLC, 55 South Shore Road. Second, Wales End 2 LLC, 43 and 45 Squam Road. Pochick Partners LLC, 30 Pochick Ave. Elizabeth Doble Holby, 19 Low Beach Road. John and Rachel Rosenberg, 15 Hedgeberry Lane. Andrew O'Shea, 10 Miller Lane. Jessica and Tori, 53 My Comet Ave. And 55 Eel Point Holdings LLC, 55 Eel Point Road. I would entertain a motion.
So
Move
move
approval
Mr. Chair.
for staff recommendations.
Motion's been made by Nat, seconded by Joe. Roll call, Nat,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Oh, sorry, Dave, did you come?
Sorry, aye.
Yes, and Barry?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Now on to the two Joe is recusing from. Ariane Bistany and Benjamin Rubenstein, 51 Tennessee Ave. And also Andrea Giro and Donald Giro, 25 Hummock Pond Road. The other, with Joe recusing, is there a motion?
Motion to
So
approve.
move. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
That does make.
I'll second Barry's motion.
To approve,
John.
correct.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Motion been made by Barry to approve, seconded by Nat. Roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. All right. On to tertiary dwellings. We have CEL AC LLC, 5 Celtic Drive. Is there anybody that needs to recuse, or I'll entertain a motion? Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve for staff recommendations.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Motion's been made by Barry, seconded by Dave. Roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. And on to A&Rs. Before I read them, is there anyone that needs to recuse from any? Hearing none, I'll read them off. I'd like to take a motion to approve all. Donald E. Dimick, 58 Bartlett Road. Oceans Dojo LLC, 20 and 22 Bartlett Farm Road. Nantucket Old South LLC, Clifford Shore, manager, 33 Old South Road. Auburn Cottage LLC, 46 Easton Street. Quaker Road LLC, 14 Quaker Road and 22 Vestal Street. Nantucket Cottage Hospital, care of Partners Healthcare, 60 Meadowview Drive. And those are the A&Rs. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to endorse per staff recommendations.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made by Dave to endorse and approve, seconded by Nat. Roll call, Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, moving on. We have previous plans. Oliver's Way subdivision, 52 Burnell Street. I believe Mr. Glidden, Richard, is representing the applicant. Meg, could you see if Richard or anyone here is logged into comment?
Well, Mr. Foley is raising his hand. This is, I don't see Mr. Glidden here, but this is just to endorse legal documents that go along with the subdivision that were included with your packet.
Which we've already looked at.
Right.
Is there was Mr. Foley raising his hand to represent in place of, or is there?
I don't think he's at the same firm as Mr. Glidden. Would you
No,
want
no.
me to allow him to speak?
Well, I'm curious, maybe he's raising his hand for something else. We're not really. We've already approved that. We're looking at just to endorse the plans, but I'll listen if he has a comment.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's Jay Foley. I lowered my hand, so my apologies.
All right, thank you very much, Jay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. With the board, any questions?
I'm going to make a motion that we endorse the legal documents as submitted.
Okay, motion been made by Barry. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dave. Roll call. Barry.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Nat.
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. All right, moving right along, we have Maple Subdivision. This is for a Form J lot release. There were 3 that were, or actually 4 to be released or held, and 3 of them are being requested to be released. I believe there's going to be a performance surety bond that's going to be put up for $960,090 with the additional the 4th lot still remaining under the Form J.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any comments, or is there something else, Meg, that I'm missing on that?
No, it's a bit of a, I guess, unusual request, but planning staff is supportive of it, given the sizable bond, the fact that we will be retaining one of the lots. Mr. Pesci has thoroughly also reviewed this request and agrees with the bond amount and in the items detailed in the punch list. Another component of this is to go ahead and hold the physical form in the office until the base pave coat goes down and is inspected by Mr. Pesci. That is scheduled to go down this week. So if all goes according to plan, bonds received, paper signed, roadways inspected, it should be good to go by the end of the week.
Okay. Board, any questions?
No. Just, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion at this point that we sign the Form J release and also accept the performance security bond.
Okay, of the release of the 3 of the 4 lots.
That's correct.
Great. And the
Per-
security bond, okay, as listed.
Per
Yes,
staff, per staff
First step.
recommendations
Right.
of the
Oh,
base.
absolutely.
Okay, great.
Okay. Motion's been made by
I'll
Barry.
second that.
Dave will second. Roll call. Barry.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Nat.
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Moving on, Sandpiper 1, Sandpiper 2. This is for to reaffirm vote of a minor mod that from January of 2019. Meg, any comments?
No, just if you wouldn't mind to revote in the positive. It was a decision that the board made back in 2019 to allow the AMI units to also apply to the duplex units, where the initial decision only allowed for single family. It hasn't been an issue in terms of permitting and financing. It was just more of a paperwork cleanup, and somehow it got dropped off the radar back in 2019.
Thank you. Unless there's a comment or question from the board, I would entertain a motion to reaffirm the original vote.
So
I'll make that
moved.
motion.
Dave made the motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Nat, second.
Second.
Roll call. Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Okay, on to sketch plans. 10 Gray Ave. This is for discussion of a potential special permit. I believe Ray Pohl we have listed as to represent the applicant. Meg, if there's anything else you would like to add before we hear from Ray? If not, I will let.
No, I just brought over Lisa. Lisa, you're
Okay.
muted.
Yeah, Ray had to go to an appointment. So when this subdivision happened, I don't even know what year it was, there was a tertiary dwelling restriction put on the back lot. It's a rear lot subdivision, and our understanding is that Lori Garabrandt was able to remove hers from her lot, which is right next door. It's also a rear lot subdivision, and we were hoping to do the same thing on ours. You know, the goal is that there's a main house that has 3 bedrooms. There's a tiny little studio that we currently rent out that has a kitchen, and we'd like to do another dwelling that's above a garage on that property. It'll still be another studio, but the goal is to just get more, hopefully year-round housing. I mean, it's not for short-term rentals. It's really,
It has
the
to
goal is to
be-
get
One of
short.
them has,
Excuse me?
one of them has to be year-round if you have a tertiary, you know that.
Oh, yeah,
already.
yeah. Well, right now
One of the
both are-
units.
Yeah, both of them are year-round at the moment.
For the general public, in order to get a tertiary, the property would have to be owner occupied for a year-round use.
Okay.
And there is aside from that, I know that this is a 20,000 square foot in a 10,000 square foot zoning. Can this be, or are you looking at this at any particular time to be potentially future subdivided, or is this
Yeah.
final? Okay,
I know.
so we can.
There's no, I don't think there's any way to subdivide it further.
No.
Okay, with the road frontage, et cetera. Yeah.
Exactly.
Board members, any questions?
Just, Lisa, did you just mention that this is gonna be a dwelling in an existing, it's like an apartment above whatever you just said earlier. So
Mhm.
this isn't gonna be a new dwelling on the ground, correct? There's
Uh,
already a building now, or is this gonna be?
There is a building now, yes.
Look, that's what I meant. Yeah, that's what I thought you said. So that's good. Okay.
Well, is the building remaining just because there's a building now? I guess that would really be your
Yes,
question.
the building is remaining. We built the garage. I think if we didn't get the tertiary dwelling, we would probably take the studio and remove that as a dwelling unit, the tiny little studio that's only probably 15 by 25. It's teeny. We'd probably remove that as a dwelling.
Right.
Meg, do you have a map of this, just instead of to see any kind of survey so we can actually relate it to the actual plot?
Yeah, I might be able to pull one up. Let me see if you don't have one.
You have one readily available. That would be,
I should. I'm just
should be able to
searching
share your screen.
my email from Arcus Borough.
And I would just say from a planning staff perspective, this is something we would be supportive of as well. I mean, it's generating additional housing. It's an oversized lot. We did a similar approval for the neighboring property last year.
Yeah, so this is the plan. So there are 2 houses now built in front of this. This is the main house. This is the little tiny shed that I was referring to that actually is a dwelling now, and this is the garage. And then this is a real shed.
So the garage would have the designation of tertiary, is that correct, Lisa?
I think so, or maybe the studio.
Okay, and the reason why I asked, as you know, that we just
900.
increased our tertiary at town meeting to 900 square feet. So I guess we just want to know in kind of in advance so that we don't back look back and say we approve something. But if the garage is going to become the secondary, then technically, as you know, the secondary could be 80% the size of the main structure. And then the studio right now, that although you're saying is a 15 by 25, it has the possibility to be enhanced to be a 900 square foot, as long as you meet the the square footage. So I think designation and just making other board members aware of what this property can do in the future, unless they want to put any restrictions on it before approval. Any discussion from the board?
No,
And
that's-
granted, it is, as we said, required to have owner occupied to make this
Right.
round, to make it a tertiary,
Okay.
any of the buildings.
Okay. Well, that's why we just wanted to get some comments, and then we'll figure out, we'll decide whether or not we want to formally submit a plan and for which building.
Okay. Board members, I don't think we need to vote on this, but this is the time for any kind of additional comments.
Well, what you said is the most important thing, Mr. Chairman. With the shed could be the tertiary and the garage could be the secondary.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Yes, Barry.
Yeah, I just like to say, as one member of the board, I'm generally supportive of this. And when we submit our report, I'd like to use what Megan had brought up earlier for why we're supportive of this as a board, so that they can, if they so decide, they can move ahead and file a special permit for later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Anyone else on the board?
No, I like it. I think it's gonna work once Lisa streamlines a couple things. Yeah.
Great.
We have Dave and Steve, I think, that want to say something.
I'm fully supportive of this. I personally would like to see it remain within the tertiary standards here. And I don't know if that makes it confusing with your little studio you have there, but I mean, it's a big lot. It's a waste of space, in all honesty. If they're willing to build housing there, or even if it's one unit, we should allow it. But I'm in favor of it as a tertiary personally. Thanks.
Okay, Stephen, was your hand up?
Hope you're muted, Stephen, I think.
Yes, Mr. Chair, it is up for a while here. Yeah, I just wanted to support this application. I think, the whole reason we put tertiary in is to local control a year-round housing, and it's in an area of primarily R10, which are much smaller lots. The adjacent lots are R10. One of the adjacent lots has a tertiary. Frankly, I wouldn't be adverse to the other one coming in, and some people might roll their eyes. The tertiary dwelling doesn't exclude anyone from ground coverage limitations. I believe this, through you, Mr. Chair, Meg, is this when it was rezoned, when it's subdivided, is it under R10?
Yes.
That's what it was subdivided as?
Already.
Right. So, the other thing to keep in mind that a lot of times we lose track of is that in an R10 zone, a tertiary dwelling limits the number of bedrooms in a lot. Without the tertiary dwelling, there is no limitation. So, I mean, you could have this size lot, probably 15 or 20 bedrooms, subject only to having paid the sewer bill. So I think it's a great way to solve for a couple of different problems, and it does create infill. And in this area, the structures are generally very limited visibility. So there's a bonus there that it doesn't create a perception of greater density. So anyways, those are my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And for my comment, I'd like to go along with my board members. I'm supportive of this. I think this is an oversized lot. It's in a R10, which is 10,000 square foot lot. So you're looking at roughly 20,000 square feet. So it really is double of what the zoning is. So that would be my comment.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you
for
very
taking the
much.
time. I appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Okay, moving on to public hearings. We have a couple of requests for continuance, and I'm looking at Nantucket Realty Trust, Jeffrey Koshulik, trustee of Van Glider Avenue subdivision, 86A and 88 Old South Road. It's requested to continue until September 12th. Meg, I see an action deadline for September 12th. Do we have to make a motion to, besides continue, grant an extension?
No, that doesn't require a motion. That's just
Okay.
something you can handle administratively.
So we'll look at that. Then we also have Catherine Dean Schulman, trustee, 48 West My Comet Road. That has an action deadline at 9:30, continue to 9:12. ACK Mid-Island LLC and ACK Offices LLC 18, 18A, 20, 22, 24, 26 Sparks Ave. Action deadline 9:30, continue to 9:12. One Airport Road LLC, One Airport Road, action deadline 10:31, continued to 9:12. There is 7 Airport Road LLC, 7 Airport Road, 10:31/22, action deadline continued to 9:12. So is there comment, anybody from the board?
To be at the Nantucket Hotel to that?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. We did mention that earlier. I will say, let me look up that. We will also have the Nantucket Hotel, 77 Easton Street. That is going to be continued to 9:12, but there is an action deadline 9:11. So we'll need an extension for that, as you mentioned, Meg.
Mhm.
Okay, so with that, Dave, yes.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to go here, but it's very frustrating, and I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I'm very frustrated by the continuation of some of these. I mean, I understand some of them have been working with staff and moving forward. Airport Road, we've continued this multiple times. We've had no movement. And listen, I consider the owners a friends of mine, but I have to say I am really frustrated by the process here. This piece of property is an eyesore. Everyone drives by it, everyone sees it. It makes us as a board look terrible. And we've had no movement on this in 3 months. And I don't know, I don't want to believe that this was a strategic move to stop getting fined. But it's just frustrating. It's a waste of staff time. Staff should not have to call applicants to see where they are every month before a meeting. I just don't think it's a good use of staff time. They're busy. So I would like to see these guys come forward with a site plan, drainage plan, a landscape plan by our next meeting. Or I personally feel that we as a board should not give them any more time. And it just partially, I mean, a lot because it's a waste of staff time. And secondly, because it makes us as a board look like we're letting people run amok. So thanks for listening. Sorry about that.
No, thank you, Dave. Good points in a well-traveled, highly visible area. So I'm looking at, as I read these off, Nat is going to be recusing himself from 7 Airport Road. So I think.
The next one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that the next?
Sorry.
Right. Excuse me. I have that kind of interfering with that. So we can take these all. I think if we want to, Meg, can we pull out 1 Airport Road for discussion, and maybe if we're going to approve the other ones for continue without prejudice, make any kind of statement that we would ask for some action to be taken before their action deadline of 10/31, whether it be September's meeting to come forth with progress and showing, besides just filing for a permit. Is there something that we can do to request that separately from the other ones?
I think Barry's got his hand up.
Barry?
So I have a question, and there may not be a quick answer here at this point. Megan, I'm a little fuzzy on how many times they've asked for a continuance at this point. I know in the past, we, as a board, we're usually pretty genuine, generous about that. Where, but when they start getting beyond like 3 continuances at this point, then it's time to start having that discussion. And I'd like to make sure that before we start hammering away at them, they've kind of at least been there with that. And I don't have a firm answer.
So
Right.
Barry, if I may, I'm sorry to interrupt, but could I entertain you to hold that thought? I would like to see if we can vote on the other ones and leave this one off for now
Yeah,
for
okay.
discussion.
I
So
think
any comments we make, we
You're
can go back to
pulling,
this.
Well,
you're pulling 1 and 7 if you're going to do it that way, not just 1.
right.
Oh,
And
okay,
then the
yeah.
applicant, one of the applicant's representatives is here with her hand up. So if you're going to take it separately, I think it's only fair to allow
Sure.
her to be part of the conversation.
Okay, so let's vote on the first 3. We'll hold off on both 1 and 7 airport roads independently of each other. So we'll vote for the continued Nantucket Realty Trust, Jeffrey Koschulik, Van Glider Ave, Catherine Dean Schulman, 48 West Myacomet Ave, ACT Mid-Island LLC, and ACT offices 18, 18A, 20, 22, 24, and 26 Sparks Ave. So those are the 3.
Mr. Chairman, don't forget to include the Nantucket Hotel as well.
And yes.
All right.
And the Nantucket Hotel, 77 Easton Street, correct.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to continue for those 4?
Now second.
Make that motion, continue those.
Okay, Nat made the motion, Barry seconded, roll call, Nat,
Aye.
Barry.
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Now on to discussion for 1 Airport Road and also 7 Airport Road. I know this is a public hearing, but I'll open it up to the applicant before we open it up to the public. So, and this is for obviously consideration to continue. But Meg, if there's an applicant
here.
that would like to comment, please.
So
I'm here.
Linda is here.
Okay, hi, Linda.
Hey, it's not because they're dragging their feet. It's because we've come up with a different scenario. Number 1. Number 2, trying to get the surveyor to talk to the engineer because of the craziness of the summer has been really, really tough. So it's not like everybody can drop everything that they've already got on their plates to stop and do this. So it's not off the radar. I have spoken to Teddy. I have spoken to Dan Malloy. So everybody's aware that we've got to get this worked out. They've already gotten clearance from the water company. They've already put the screening in. I know we need to implement the screening on 7. So what we've come up with now is perhaps splitting the driveway, because that open driveway that goes in the middle between the 2 lots is impossible to screen. So what came up last week is splitting the 2 driveways up so they can control the width of them. It doesn't give you a dead shot into both going both directions where it does now. The screening is taking hold, so I'm kind of pleased with that. Some of the junk that was all over the place, I made them remove that. So I think if we redo the site plan, split the driveway, so 1 has its own driveway, 7 has its own driveway, that'll give us a little more ability to screen the openings in general and move stuff around. So we are also waiting for to work with Tom Hanlon on the backside. There's no point in duplicating all that stuff between Tom Hanlon's and these guys. So there's been discussions between at least Brian and Tom to run screening that direction as well, which separates us from what's going on his commercial lots. So it's not like we haven't done anything. It's just that trying to get everybody to do something until after Labor Day has been kind of a tough to do. But I did circle back with everybody last week again. So I will continue to circle back with these guys, but we're just trying to figure out the best scenario to separate the 2 lots.
I think all that is noted, Linda, and really what we're looking for is a lot of update as you just listed. But I think also there was concern that permits were filed to avoid any kind of penalty and fines on a daily basis. And if we look back in history, continuing something indefinitely is a good way to go for zoning freezes, maybe not pay fines on a daily basis, weekly basis, et cetera. And I think what we're doing is trying to be proactive, since it is such a highly visible corner, that we're really putting it out there and making a statement that we want to see something happen. And we see the action deadline of 10/30. So we're 10/31. So we're really looking for more involvement with the surveyors. We have a couple of months to actually show something. And I believe under the last meeting that we had about this, we were opposed to the 2 driveway cuts, and we liked the 1 driveway coming in, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be a driveway that's, it could be the same width of the other driveway, but as you enter, veer off left or right. So there still could be some screening to that effect. I think we're a little leery about having 2 curb cuts, especially on that busy corner with the first lot.
We put it as far away from that. We did talk about that, Mr. Chairman. We put it as far away from that corner as possible, and then Davis would be as far away from that one as possible, so they'd be at least 100 feet apart. Okay. So that's what we're looking at now as far as how we can control what comes in and out. The reason why that other one is larger is because they're servicing 2 lots, and there are trailers and trucks involved, so it can't be as small as a single access lot. So that's why we're saying it's very difficult to screen it, because it's wide open. It has to be because of what's coming in and out of there, making a left or making a right. If we split the 2 driveways and go straight in, there's a lot more ability to sort of narrow them up and screen the driveways a little bit better. But this is something that came up last week. I did talk to Megan last week about giving me a list of everything. We thought we knew everything, but we're going to have to go back and look at the tape again and make sure that we have the entire list of what was asked for.
Okay, I'm going to ask Meg to comment. I see her hand raised as well.
I just was going to mention, I think this is sort of segueing into a full-blown discussion where it was listed as a continued item on the agenda. I think the status update was appropriate. Thank you, Linda. I think the frustrations amongst the board are absolutely appropriate. Thank you for that. But I think the back and forth discussion in detail, it's kind of segueing into kind of open meeting law stuff, and we got to go back in.
Okay, well noted. And with that, I see other hands raised, but I don't want, if there's something new for procedural purposes, I'd entertain that. But if not, we can hold the comment for the continuation of next month. Carl?
I just want to say, as one member of this board, can you hear me, everybody?
Yes.
I object to opening public hearings without the proper paperwork. This was presented to me in the staff report as a continuation until September 12th. There is no paperwork in the packet for this. There is no information for me to study and prepare for a public hearing on 1 and 7 Airport Road.
Okay, so that's why we're doing a continuance.
Right, I object, and it does have until 10/30/22 to be worked on.
10/31.
I, as one member of this board, object to not having any information to have this conversation.
I have to correct, Mr. Chairman, that this was a full packet that was in there before you came on the board. So the full packet was back at the very beginning, and it was carried on when we talked about it 1 or 2 more times.
No, Linda, I understand that.
Excuse me, Chair would like to speak. Carl, please hold your comments. I just want to note your comments were made, noted, and agreed. We're going to continue this. Linda, yes, we did present this, but this is a separate issue. It's presented under public hearings to be continued. That's what Carl's noting, and we're recognizing that comment. So with that, I would entertain a motion to continue 1 Airport Road, LLC 1 Airport Road, and 7 Airport Road, LLC 7 Airport Road until the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, point of procedure.
Yes, Barry.
Yeah, okay. Unfortunately, it would have been fine to have expressed concern about, the continued continuances, okay? But you've kind of now opened the door with the applicant's representative of making comment about the project. So unfortunately, we've kind of crossed into that territory of you should really be holding a public hearing. Now, with that in mind, what I'd like to say is hopefully the public will respect our request and just say, okay, fine, we get it, we're gonna wait. But at least open that door, close it just as quickly, and then move along to a continuance. I think if you do a continuance right now without that process, we're running real close to being a foul of open meeting. So that's
Okay.
just my respectful opinion.
Okay, so I guess looking at procedure, the comment made by Dave was appropriate. When we asked Linda as an applicant to speak on it, we must now open it up to the public hearing. If there's no one here to comment on it, we can close the public, well, not close the public hearing, we can offer a continuance. If that's what you're mentioning as well, Barry, if we're on the same page.
I am, just to keep us from.
Okay, let's do that as a precautionary so that we adhere to all the procedures. So
Thank
Meg, if there's anybody that would like to comment from the public, I would entertain them to speak.
Not seeing anyone.
No
Right.
hands raised. Great.
So I'm
With
gonna make,
that, I would entertain a motion to continue those two.
all right, I'm gonna make a motion that we continue
moved.
those two. And the only other thing I'd like.
I'll second it.
Megan, thank you. Just let me finish one little thing. The only thing I'd like from Megan is just to know how many continuances there have been, which we can look at for next meeting. That's all. Thank you.
Motion made to continue by Barry,
Second.
seconded by Nat. Roll call, Barry.
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
Okay, and the chair votes aye. Moving on to, I believe Nat will be recusing himself from this Mid-Island Service Limited Partnership 41 and 43 Sparks Ave. Action deadline 11/6. So with that, I would assign one alternate. Meg, have we had any, is there a reason why I wouldn't be able to activate Abby for this?
No, you can activate Abby.
Great. Abby, welcome. I think this is your first one we're going to activate. Is that true?
It is.
Excellent. Okay. Ken Gullis, can I have as representing, is Ken here or anybody here to speak on the applicants?
Yes, Arthur Reed is here.
I am, Mr. Chair.
Welcome, Arthur. How are you this evening?
Fine, thank you. How are you, Mr. Chairman? Good to be here and good to see you all through cyberspace. In any event, this is a situation in which major commercial development was granted a while back on this 41 and 43 Sparks Avenue, and includes the car wash. And the plan as submitted called for the second floor of the car wash to be used for a housing unit, employee housing unit. Well, it has actually occurred to everybody involved since then that nobody is going to want to live upstairs over a car wash. Granted, the noise and all of the factors that are inherent in a car wash. The applicant affiliated companies provide plenty of housing for their employees who need it. And we would in any event request that the plan showing that space as being used for employee housing as part of the decision be amended to provide that that space would be used for office and storage space. And that's it.
Great, thank you, Arthur. Meg, did we have any decision as far as NRTA passes and employment when it was going to be employee housing? Anything that would be interesting to note, because if we're making this into office space, obviously somebody else that was going to be utilizing that as employee housing, maybe would need some kind of transportation or passes or to, to get around. So I was just curious if we had if we imposed anything on the employee housing now that we're converting it over to an office.
I don't have the decision handy, but I think that would be well within the scope of your purview to require that.
Okay, and how many well, it would be based on the units above there, how many employees were going to be occupying the apartment?
It was one unit.
One unit. So we'll just assume if one unit, how many bedrooms? If there's 2 bedrooms, 2 per bedroom. If there's 1 bedroom, 1 per bed, or 2 per one, for bedroom, for a total of 2. I'm just talking out loud. I would love to hear any kind of suggestions from the board as well, where I'm going with that. Dave?
It was my recollection that it was the manager, right? That nice gentleman came on and talked with us. It was just for him and his family, if I recall correctly. I'd have to go back and review, but I think it was just a manager apartment.
Okay.
I think that's right.
Any other comments from the board? Is there anything you'd like to impose as far as passes or things like that? And by the way, Arthur, I understand the situation. Nobody knows until it's built how it's going to be, how disruptive the noise will be above it. And it does make sense, to change that if that's the case.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Barry.
Yep. So through you, and I might need a little help from Megan here. I get the conversion to storage and office space, but generally it'd be good for this board, I believe, to have a feel for what that office space is going to be defined as, which we do routinely with other projects as well too. Office spaces can garner additional parking as well. So I'm sorry, I'm a little out of my environments right now. But Megan, do you have any thought about what that should look like in terms of like an office space, like a real estate office or something like that, as opposed to, you see where I'm tracking?
I think we asked Arthur that, Barry.
I may, there's no suggestion that this would be used for an outside office. This would be office space used in connection with the business on site.
Okay, thank you. Does that help, Barry?
I'm sorry. Unfortunately, like I said, I'm on the.
So Mr. was saying that the office is intended to be for the business at hand, not separately rented out.
Okay, perfect. Then you've just answered my question, because that somehow should be formulated into the decision that we ultimately make when we do this. So thank you. That helps tremendously.
Before I open it up to the general public, anyone else comment? Okay, Meg, please, if you see any hands raised, general public, open this up.
I'm not seeing any.
Okay, seeing none, is there a motion? Further discussion or motion to close?
I'll make a motion at this point that we approve the change to the.
We have to, I'm sorry, Barry,
Let me
not to
close.
interrupt. We have to close the public hearing.
You're absolutely right. I stand corrected. So motion to close the public hearing, sir.
Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, motion made to close by Barry, seconded by Dave. Roll call. Barry,
Aye.
Dave,
aye.
Abby,
Aye, sorry, I was on mute.
Joe,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Now on to the merits.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion at this point that we modify the special permit for the MCD as per what we've just discussed.
And also, I believe you have to make a request that is in harmony with the purpose and intent of the bylaw, et cetera.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you.
is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made by Barry, seconded by Dave. Roll call, Barry.
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Abby,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you very much. Thank you, Arthur. Now
Thank you.
on to, Nantucket Property Owner LLC, 6 Beach Grass, Linda Williams representing.
If Megan
Meg?
wants to give her a recommendation, you might as well go there first. Might be easier.
Yep, go ahead, Meg.
Sure. So this application is requesting a waiver of 2 of the 6 required parking spaces for a duplex unit over in Sandpiper 2. It's in the R5 zoning district where 1 space per bedroom is required. In this particular situation, it's physically impossible to comply with that requirement. The lot just simply isn't large enough. The possibility of reducing the bedroom count also cannot occur because this is a deed restricted unit. It's tied to the DHCD permitting, which requires certain bedroom counts. So trying to get around it that way also would not be a solution. The only way they're able to comply is by obtaining a special permit. Because DHCD has confirmed that they have no objection to the property being subject to a special permit, our position is favorable to the applicant's request.
Great, thank you.
I don't think I have to
Lynn?
add anything.
Okay,
We have to provide 10 covenant units in our 35, and 2 of them are duplexes. And we already moved this duplex off of the lot directly across the access to this lot because it was too small. We couldn't even get 2 spaces on it. And as Megan said, we can't reduce it because we're required to have 3 bedrooms per side, and we are asking to have 2 parking spaces per side for the families, the covenant families.
okay, board members. Seeing none, right? Oh, Dave.
I would just like to say, I'm in favor of this. These are ownership units. They're not rental units. So I think that hopefully the owners can manage the parking. And we need units. We need heads and beds. So I'm for this. Thanks.
Harry, your hand's raised.
Yeah, just real quickly, I just want to make sure that there is a provision somewhere, and I'm almost 90% sure there is, that there's no on-street parking allowed in the area as well too, because that will be a big thing with the reduction. I'm in favor of it, but I just want to make sure that that's kind of crystal clear as well too. So
Now,
thank
there
you.
are on-street parking spaces approved back and before you came on the board, on Honeysuckle and on Beachgrass. Those are part of the original subdivision for Richmond, and we inherited a lot of the problems from the Richmond decision for Sandpiper too.
All right.
And this particular property is actually accessed by one of the common driveways that connect Beachgrass and parallels Indigo to Honeysuckle. So Indigo doesn't have on-street parking, but within close proximity on Honeysuckle and on Beachgrass there is.
Okay, I don't see any hands raised, so I will open it up to the general public. Meg, please monitor and let me know if you see any hands raised.
I'm not seeing any.
Okay, seeing no hands raised.
Motion to close the public hearing, sir.
Okay, motion's been made by Barry to close. Is there a
Second.
second? Nat, second, roll call. Barry,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Now on to the merits. Is there a motion? Or further discussion?
I'm going to make a motion.
Motion to, good.
Barry,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Barry.
It doesn't make a difference. I think we're both on the same page here.
Yep.
Motion to approve the change to the special permit for waiving the parking spaces. Per
Also-
what's as outlined.
And the findings, there are 3 findings as well from staff.
Correct.
Okay. Motion made by Barry. Is there a second?
Second.
Nat, second. Roll call. Barry,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. All right. Thank you very much, Linda. Okay, now on to Stephen T. Swift and James V. Nancy S. O'Connor, Sand Eel Subdivision, modification number 150 Maya Comet Ave and 3 Sand Eel Lane. I believe Arthur Reed is representing. Meg, if you want to, or I don't know what you'd rather do, lead into that or let Arthur?
We have Arthur and as well as Dan Bailey here representing both applicants. So I think
Okay.
go ahead.
I'll let
Let me go
roll.
forward on this and paint the picture.
All right, go ahead, please.
This is a situation involving, a subdivision that was done back around 2005. I don't have the actual date in front of me. It's a 2-lot subdivision. The property was subdivided into 2 building lots and a roadway called Sand Eel Lane running off at 50 Maya Comet Avenue. The property consists of a back lot and a front lot with the roadway running along the side of the front lot to serve it and the rear lot. Megan, can you possibly put any of the stuff up on the screen on this? It'll help explain what's going on. In any event, while we're getting to that, the present owners of the 2 lots have had, it's fair to say, substantial disagreements in recent years about the status of the road, the respective use that each has had of the road, and various other related issues. There's currently litigation pending in land court between the parties involving the rights of the parties in Sand Eel Lane, the ownership of Sand Eel Lane, and various other claims that the parties each have against each other. Dan represents the O'Connors, who own the rear lot to the southeast, as shown on the plan that's up on the screen now. And my client, Stephen Swift, owns the front lot. The front lot, it's a little hard to tell from this sketch, but the front lot includes the rectangular area together with the rounded area behind it coming off Maya Comet Avenue. The O'Connor lot, as you can see, is to the right of that. It abuts the Swift lot at one place and otherwise has its frontage on Sand Eel Lane. During the years, there has been a hedge constructed and existing within Sand Eel Lane, which is shown on the plan, and which has provided some buffer between Sand Eel Lane and the Swift property, and in general has served a purpose in terms of dividing the areas occupied by the parties. Where we are now, and again, the whole question of the ownership of Sand Eel Lane has been up in the air because of the fact that at the time that this subdivision was done, it was before the planning board started requiring that lot numbers be assigned to subdivision roadway lots. And it was simply laid out this way without there being any lot number on Sand Eel Lane. And the result is that the various legal principles applicable to it would determine the ownership of the land in Sand Eel Lane as well as the rights in Sand Eel Lane. Fortunately, the parties have now tentatively come together. They have reached a settlement. A settlement agreement has been signed, subject to various things being accomplished, including getting the subdivision plan modified and including various actions that have to be taken. And it's quite a complicated situation there in the land court in order to accomplish what we're trying to work out. But what the parties have agreed upon would be that the portion of Sandia Lane where the hedge is, with the line as drawn on the plan that you're looking at, running around the outside of it, would be added to the Swift property, and the area that's marked as 2 O'Connor would be added to the O'Connor property. The ownership of the remaining portion of Sandia Lane would be, by agreement of the parties and by order of the land court, determined to be owned in fee by the O'Connors as a pertinent to their real lot. The effect of that will be that Sandia Lane, the remaining portion of Sandia Lane, is effectively nothing more than a driveway coming in from Myacomet Avenue to serve that one lot, with the Swift property having its frontage on Myacomet Avenue and not relying upon Sandia Lane for access. The matter is, as I mentioned, pending in the land court at the present time. We need to report back to the judge next month. And the concept here is to get the plan, the existing plan, modified, to have a vote of the planning board now to modify the plan so that the layout of the properties would be as shown on the sketch plan that you have here. It'll be followed up with a plan showing the actual layout, the amended approval required plan. In the staff recommendation, there was a suggestion that would be submitted within 6 months. Dan and I have talked about that, and because of the complexities involved with the land court, before we can complete that part of the situation, all of which we're going to be trying to accomplish as expeditiously as possible. But in addition to the complexities of the situation, you have the delays that are inherent in the land court process. So we would like to request that a year be the time that we would have to submit the new plan for updated approval required endorsement. And by the way, the recommendation that applicable revisions to legal documents to be submitted within 6 months. Actually, there were no legal documents. There was no covenant, no statement of conditions of subdivision approval. There's nothing on record relating to the subdivision. So there's actually nothing that we need to modify. And because of the fact that the effect of this will be that the parties' interests in Sandia Lane will effectively be divorced from each other, there's really no need for there to be any type of documentation like homeowners association and so on. Once again, Sandia Lane will, at the end of the day, wind up, the remaining portion of it will wind up being owned in fee, but it will remain as a road in order to provide frontage for the O'Connor lot. I think that pretty much explains what's going on. Dan, do you have anything more that you'd like to add to what I said?
No, not really. Just reinforce that, this is one where the parties would benefit from a divorce. And we've been litigating it for a couple of years now, and there's some fairly complicated land court stuff. But we think we've come up with a solution that both parties are happy with. And we'd appreciate your support.
Okay, thank you very much, Arthur and Dan. Meg, I'm looking at conditions being noted for 6 months. I think Arthur's mentioning a year. Do you see any reason why there should be a change from the 6 months for the filing decision and the legal documents?
I mean, I think it's, if there was no legal documents, obviously we can eliminate that suggested condition. And I think, increasing it to 12 months is fine, because
Okay.
otherwise they'd be before you asking for an extension anyway.
Sure. And just to note, I have dealt with the land court. I just recently, a couple months ago, had a land court decision that did take a year. So I think it's a reasonable request, just to note. So I would say in the conditions to change the 6 months in both of those, number 1 and number 2, to reflect 12 months. And we obviously are still going to be opening up to the public for comment, but I just wanted to make that note. Board members, before we open it up, is there anything else? Hands, comments? Seeing none, I'll open it up to the general public, Meg.
Not seeing anyone.
Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to close.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made to close by Nat, seconded by Joe. Roll call, Nat,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Now on to the merits.
I'll make a motion to approve the request and that the finding is in harmony with the purpose and intent of the bylaw, aligns with the rules and regulations governing subdivision of land. And conditions 1 and 2, 1 and, is that a typo, Megan? Is that supposed to be a 2 there?
It is a typo, but I think we're just gonna eliminate that condition, right?
Right, I heard that earlier. So we're just gonna have condition 1 and no 2, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Or just,
Yeah, just condition 1 and change 6 months to a year.
Correct.
okay. So with those changes, that would be my motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion been made by Nat, seconded by Dave. Roll call, Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, 27 Fair Street LLC, 27 and 29 Fair Street. I believe Sarah Elger representing the applicant. And we have an action deadline of 10/31/22. Meg, if you see anyone here.
Yeah, I see
I see it.
Sarah.
I see Sarah. Okay.
Okay, I saw Brad. Is there anyone else from the Blue Flag team?
I think it's just Brad and me.
Okay.
Hi, Sarah. Brad, welcome.
Thank you. So I'm sorry that we were not able to provide you with written materials well in advance of the hearing. I think, as you'll recall, at our last meeting, you asked us to go back and have some meetings with the abutters to see if we could reach a resolution. And we've been working on that. And kind of late breaking news is that with the cooperation and considerable efforts of everyone involved, we've seemed to have reached a resolution of our issues. So what I'd like to do is just go through the conditions the new conditions that we're willing to agree to, and then maybe ask the board for their comments. And I know Arthur Reed, representing some of the abutters, will probably want to say something as well. We had submitted operation management plans for both the wood box and the property at 27 Fair previously. And I sent Megan revised copies today, and I can just run there. The changes are not they're not too many, so I think I can run through them. So here's the current proposal. A total of 17 guest rooms across both properties, 29 Fair and 27 Fair. We'll be using only the front building, known as the Wood Box at 29 Fair, and both buildings, the front and rear buildings at 27 Fair. 17 rooms, a total occupancy for guests exclusive of employees of 34 guests. The back building at 29 Fair will just be used for kind of what we call back of house, so storage and office space. All three guest buildings that house guests will be renovated and will include fire suppression systems. The restaurant at 29 Fair, known as the Woodbox, will be, as we said at the last meeting, used solely for guests of the hotel and the guest house at 29 and 27 Fair. Occupancy will, as a result, be limited to 34 guests because that's the number of guests that we can have in the hotel and inn. All the food will be prepared in the on-site commercial kitchen. All service will be limited to table service. Obviously, it will be in accordance with local, state, and federal laws. There'll be no outdoor seating provided for food or beverage obtained at the restaurant. Now, if one of the guests of the inn buys a sandwich and sits on a wall outside, that isn't going to be a criminal offense, but we're not going to provide any outdoor seating for the restaurant. There'll be no room service or other food delivery provided from the restaurant. The hotel can apply for an all alcohol innkeeper's license, but there will be no physical bar at the hotel. There'll just be the seating for the 34 guests, and we're not going to have room service, so we won't be delivering alcohol to the rooms. The permitted hours of operation will be from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. No exterior expansion and footprint or massing of any of the structures at either 27 and 29 Fair, with the exception of maintenance, restoration of the foundation of the main building at 29 Fair. We're going to do a historic renovation of that structure, and part of that will be fixing the foundation that it sits on. Other cosmetic changes consistent with the historic nature of the structures. We are going to attempt to ameliorate the drainage issues that are coming from the rear building at 29 Fair. Also permitted changes necessary for ADA and Massachusetts Commission on Disability Compliance. And there's an interior light shaft that goes through the building at 29 Fair, and we're going to be closing that in. A no smoking policy will be enforced at both properties. Let's see. The other changes in the hotel management plan, I guess the only thing is that the management plan can only be modified by public hearing. I think we had said that as long as it was in keeping with the spirit of intent of the approvals, we could do it through staff, but that's fine. We're going to just have that management plan can only be modified by public hearing. And otherwise, everything is as you saw it at the last hearing.
Thank you, Sarah. Arthur, or is there something you'd like to comment about?
First of all, I'd like to thank very much on behalf of myself and my clients, Sarah and her clients, Brad and Terry, for the work that they've put in. All of us have put in a great deal of time and effort in trying to resolve this situation. This is a very significant issue for my clients and for other residents of the neighborhood. And I think that Sarah's clients have been sensitive and understanding in working with us, while obviously we recognize that they have a business to operate and that they need to take that into consideration in whatever they work out. I think that we've reached a settlement which may not be exactly what either party would have ideally wanted to wind up with, which probably means in the old line that it was a good settlement. And again, I want to thank everybody. Sarah has agreed that I'll have the opportunity to comment on the decision before it's filed. And obviously, I will be looking at that when that comes around. But with the terms of settlement that we've reached, including the management plan and including the items which Sarah presented just now in her oral presentation, we believe that an appropriate settlement has been reached. And we want to thank everybody for their participation. I also want to thank the Planning Board for your patience in dealing with all of this. It's taken a while, and I know that you're concerned about how long these applications can take. The other side of that is that I think it's important to get things done right. And I think that the passage of time on this has enabled it to be done right to the greatest extent possible. And I'm here with to answer any other questions that you may have, but that's where we stand on things at the present time. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. Meg, I just want to say I'm happy to see that both sides have come together with a mutual understanding. I just want to make sure this is all reflected in what we had commented on and deliberated with in past meetings with the plans and the hours of operations, the lighting, parking, et cetera. Everything that we've commented in the past is addressed in any kind of decision that we're incorporating with this understanding. That's a shaking affirmative yes. Okay, thank you. And I will open it up to the board with comments. I know this has been an interesting application.
John, if I could.
Sure, go ahead, Dave.
Through you to Sarah. Is with the agreement with the abutters or with the neighborhood, is part of it that they are not allowed to open to the public, or is there hope that they will open to the public at some time?
Well, we're actually putting a deed restriction on the property that would prevent us from opening to the public.
Thanks. It's sad, but I appreciate all the work you guys have done to make this work out, and thank you.
Anyone else from the board before we open? Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, thanks. One of the things about the planning board is that, we're always kind of the great arbitrators here sometimes when parties don't always disagree. But one thing sometimes that gets a little lost in that process is, and a charge of ours too, is to look at what are the public benefits behind this as well too. And I have to admit, I'm going to stop there for 1 second because I got one thing that's just troubling me. Through you to Sarah, there's been no change in the site plans, right?
No,
it's what we've seen all
it's
along.
the site plan that we submitted for the meeting in June, site and lighting and landscaping.
Thank you. So let me go back to where I was, public benefit. I've thought really long and hard about this, and I've heard from a few people about the site itself. And one of the recurrent themes is that the loss of the restaurant to the public is somewhat troublesome. It's become its own private entity. The wood box was renowned for what it did. And I think as a board, we're missing something here by letting it be privatized on that level. I don't think it's unknown to any of us that right now the restaurant situation on Nantucket is growing dim. We're losing restaurants. And in doing that, we need to try to maintain as many as we possibly can. This was also very unique as well, too, in terms of where it was sited. Because, as much as we always bemoan downtown is like, oh my God, there's just no places and whatever. This was kind of a nice little unique offset with things. And given the size of the facility, it did kind of limit what could go on with that. So I got to admit, after much reflection, I'm rather troubled to this application of it becoming a private restaurant for just the people there. And I would like to maybe think we could see the Woodbox restored to its former glory of what it was. So I'm just going to throw that out. I mean, I'm sure I'll get some feedback on it, but I think just sitting here and not saying anything, I'd be just as remiss in what my public duties are. So thank you.
Thank you, Barry. I'd just like to comment on that as well, that although I'm very, very disappointed that it won't be available, as I expressed in previous meetings, that was a special place for me and my wife for anniversary dinners. I do understand this is a private business that's for profit, and imposing certain conditions to keep it open for the public isn't necessarily in our purview, where we can force somebody to run their business as not according to their business plan. I think, having owned a small restaurant and food service business, it's a very, very difficult business. And, you don't necessarily, somebody has a plan and to tell them how to operate to make a profit is difficult, because what we'd like to see doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be profitable. It could cause hardship later on and have adverse effects of what we're trying to do. This is an area where we have neighborhoods that obviously we've come to an agreement when we had representation, I think, of 48 plus neighbors. And now to bring that many people together in harmony with a mutual understanding is a pretty, it's a nice accomplishment for both parties, and it says a lot about the negotiations and what it took place to get here. That being said, for every loss, as you had mentioned, Barry, for a restaurant, it creates an opportunity for other restaurants and other potentials in the downtown district. So we may see a loss of 6 restaurants, but on the same token, next year or 2 years, we might see an increase of 7 restaurants. It's all possible based on what happens in the downtown core district. So everything is noted, and as a planning board, we have to be cognizant of what's happening in every area, but we also can't just accept an application based on what they determine. We also have to impose what we reasonably think would be appropriate for the area, with everything from lighting and parking and delivery service and hours of operation, of which I think we did. That's why I'm really impressed that with our involvement, our comments, the public's comments, the neighborhood comments, and also the business comments, this is, I'm happy to say that I think this was an interesting application that might have, nobody's going to get everything they want. We know that, but I think with cooperation, we're here now. And I like the progress that has been made. And I'm very optimistic for the future. The only question I have is, if there's a deed restriction, if the change of ownership ever happened with this deed restriction, is this in perpetuity, or is this something that can come back to the planning board to release that deed restriction and open it up for future public access to the restaurant? And that really is my only concern, because things can change. This organization and this group might all of a sudden say, you know what, we've done really well, we might want to open up to the public, and then, it becomes something that we might be able to see or review again. And if we can lift that deed restriction in the future, it opens up some possibilities. So that deed restriction is the only question I have. Other than that, I'm very happy with the progress, and I appreciate all the patience from both sides. Meg?
I was just going to mention that the deed restriction is not something, it's separate from the planning board decision. So that's not something the town or the planning board or the zoning enforcement officer is going to have any interest in enforcing. So that's something that they'll be handling privately outside of our purview.
Thank you.
That's correct.
Any other board member wish to comment? Go ahead, Nat.
Yep. Sarah, didn't we do something like this with the Graydon House?
Well,
It lasted like 1 year.
I don't even think the Graydon House actually ever opened under that restriction, but originally, yes, the Graydon House was people who were staying there only, and then by the time it opened, we had come in and amended it. But I think this situation is slightly different. Graydon House was in the CDT. This is in the ROH. To be honest, when you say bring back the former glory of the wood box, part of the glory, I think, for the neighborhood was how badly it was run. So it was never all that successful.
You're stealing my comments.
I think the fear of somebody coming in who actually would run a good establishment is legitimate. We don't know how many people would be there. Would there be lines? I can remember there being lines for the old wood box for breakfast out on that front patio. And I think those are the concerns. We just weren't able to come up with a good way to address traffic, noise, deliveries, trucks, and everything. So it's no secret, this is not what we originally applied for, obviously. But it's where we've gotten, it's what we've agreed to. It's, as Arthur said, a compromise that no one's getting everything that they want.
So no neighbor gets to go to dinner at the wood box.
No, unless they
stay there.
rent.
That is like, I don't even know what to say to this. This is a very strange outcome. I think it kind of goes with the last couple of years, brotherhood, all the fear of a place that might do better than the previous or something. And I just hope that they can change once things work, and once they see that there's not going to be that many people having dinner and hardly any deliveries because there's not that many people, everybody's not going to eat there. They're going to want to walk around and go somewhere else.
Right.
Stay in there. That's how it works here. This reminds me of remember when the Emperor was the worst idea ever, the tiny little liquor store, all hell broke loose. I mean, now we forget that. I mean, I don't forget it, but I bet not too many people remember that. So
the only thing I would add, Mr. Lowell, I would just say that what I see as the good news of this application is that these properties are not reverting to residential use.
I agree with
they
that.
will undergo a historic renovation. The interior of the wood box under this scenario will be preserved, and it will be seen by members of the public, albeit not as many members of the public as it would be if it were a public restaurant.
And so could it be, I mean, John said a few things, but I kind of didn't really follow the whole conversation about deed restriction. So could it be public, like by whose decision at some point, 5 years from now, whatever?
So it would be possible, I suppose, with the acquiescence of the property owners who hold the restriction and the planning board.
Okay. And the bar, just real quick,
No
I
bar.
kind of, well, I don't agree with that either. But I mean, if you're restricting people drinking at the bar to be hotel guests, there's probably only need like 5 seats, maybe 6. So I don't know. I don't agree with that either. But I mean, that's not going to change. You know, of course, I'm happy about the agreement. I'm just saying that seems like an unnecessary omission, especially if you're not going to be public. So anyway,
Well, they'll sit
I'm
at tables
certainly-
instead of a bar.
well, I'm certainly happy that we've got something better than going back to, you know, residential whaling days, whatever we're doing. So this is good, but it's just unfortunate that we're not going to be public at the outset, at least. So thank you for all the help, all the efforts by both sides. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Carl. Carl, you're.
I too share a mourning for the, I too mourn the loss of the public restaurant, the Woodbox. And I too have been there in years past with my wife for breakfast or Sunday brunch. And I too have a very interesting perspective on this entire process. Having lived on 2 Traders Lane for 23 years, it's just right around the corner. I'm very familiar, as you know, and as I have said in this public hearing process and this analyzation process, that I'm very aware of the farmers' lots in Darling Street and Fair Street and Pine Street and Traders Lane and Summer Street. That's where I'm coming from. What I'd like to say is that while it is, you know, sad or unfortunate that there is not a public restaurant there anymore, in my view, this is what compromise looks like throughout the process of this hearing. And, you know, I think a lot of folks on this island, you know, would like to see more compromise in town government. And I think this is a pretty good example of working together with 2 very opposing sides at the outset and through some of the early process, and arriving at an agreement which can work for all those involved. And like I say, I'm sorry about the loss of the public restaurant, but I think as things, as we emerge from the pandemic, hopefully someday, I think other restaurants that was mentioned will be able to come through and open downtown and other places. So I think it's sort of like a mitigation thing. If we have some more restaurants opening in town, it may help to ease the blow of the loss of the Woodbox. And I'm very proud to be a part of this public hearing. I'm proud to listen to a lot of folks and have my perspective as a former neighbor myself. And I commend Ms. Alger and Mr. Reed and all the folks that were involved for all their hard work on this. And I think it's a good outcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. I think we still have to open this up to the general public. So if we have anybody that would care to comment, Meg, please let us know.
Yep, I just brought over Hank Gutman.
Go ahead, Hank. Welcome.
Hi.
And we've
Hi,
heard you before, so thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And I would just like to begin on behalf of the neighbors group and the abutters, of which I'm one. I want to second the thanks offered to council on both sides, and as well to Blue Flag. This was not an easy conversation. It got testy and heated at times, and as has been observed by multiple speakers, nobody got everything they wanted, which is how you know it's a compromise and how you know it's probably a pretty good deal. So I want to thank everybody for their efforts to get us to this point. And then the only specific issue I want to comment on, and this is a repeat of things that we've said in writing before and that I've said at prior hearings. And that is that all of us, or almost all of us, certainly I and my family, mourn the loss of the Woodbox. We all have wonderful memories. We all love Nantucket restaurants. We are sorry to have seen the closings of a bunch of our favorites in the last couple of years. And we hope for the return or the reemergence of other restaurants in their places. It's part of what makes Nantucket special. And as you'll recall, we did propose early on and advocated the return of a restaurant, assuming it could have hours like the old Woodbox, 2 dinner sittings, maybe breakfast for hotel guests, as somebody on the board suggested. And the Blue Flag folks at the public hearing said that that didn't work in terms of their business model. And, you know, we have spent a lot of time going over that with them. And, you know, we can't tell them how to run their business, and we can't come up with a winning model for them. That's their business. So, you know, that's how it happened. And it was part of a compromise. And there were things that we wanted to fight on that we gave on, because our main concern at the beginning and at the end and throughout the process was preserving the peaceful enjoyment of what is an incredibly densely populated residential neighborhood. And we think that we and Blue Flag have come up with a way to do that apparently serves their business interests and at the same time protects the neighborhood from becoming like one of the downtown streets. And in terms of restaurants, we look forward to our new friends at Blue Flag bringing back the Pearl and the Boarding House. I mean, there are a lot of restaurants which we hope are just in transition, but the Woodbox has been gone for a very long time. And 29 Fair was only sporadically in operation. And so, you know, we are mourning an old loss here, and we're optimistic about the future and look forward to working with Blue Flag to make sure that going forward, now that we have this relationship, we can act in a non-contentious manner to make sure that their business interests are well served and the neighborhood is treated with respect. And people can enjoy Nantucket, which is the whole point. So thank you.
John, I see your mouth moving, but you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here I am recognizing Brad. Brad, I see your hand up, please.
I think I should just hold my comments. I'm a little surprised by Mr. Gutman's comments just now. That's all.
All right. Thank you, Brad. Anyone else from the general public care to comment? Meg, any?
I'm not
Okay,
seeing
I
anyone.
think we're at that point. Board members, is there a motion? I would entertain a motion to close unless you want to keep this open for comment.
Mr. Chairman, before we close.
Sure, go ahead, Bob. Go ahead, Barry.
Call Boris, don't worry. Listen, there's a few things. You know, I heard the word as we talked about the potential for the Woodbox. I heard the word hardship incorporated somewhere, and I'm a little not impressed by that. There's, you know, the fact that 48 people got together and they were able to construct a decision, you know, that seems mutually beneficial to both parties. But you also have to take into account that there's also the great silent public out there too, which is what we're charged with to be able to keep our ears open on these things. You know, I heard things like, well, there's noise, there's trucks, there's deliveries. That's still going to happen. whether the wood box is there or not, it's still going to happen. Just because you're not opening that restaurant, there's still going to have to be deliveries for food. There's going to be noise associated with it. There's going to be noise from the neighbors, as we heard, from the people staying there. So this mutual decision doesn't make those things go away. They're still going to be there, maybe albeit decreased somewhat, but realistically, they're still there. One of the things I've always liked about a special permit was it gave this board a tremendous amount of latitude to be able to reopen a public hearing and make determinations as a business continues along its pathway. Good, nothing happens. Problematic, then the board has that ability to reopen and take action. And even if that were the case, and let's just say for the fun of it, the wood box did reopen to the public, and then as time is moving along, it comes to a business failure or whatever the case may be, there's a way to resolve that without a lot of fanfare, and that's through the public, that's through the special permit process. So I'm always a big fan of that. I really am, because it gives a tremendous amount of control in the situation. I am going to preface something though, which is that last month I had my reservations about where this process was going to track to. And I felt to a certain extent it was getting to a point of almost having to pull teeth to get some type of compromise occurring. Well, I am genuinely pleased that the two parties were able to come to a mutual resolution where they both feel like they're getting something out of it. Right? So I want that to be part of the record as well, too. I'm really thrilled with the process. You guys did work together. I mean, not everyone got what they wanted, but again, that's the fine art of compromise. Like I said, I'm having real mixed feelings on this application still for this one point. And so I'm going to just stop right here and say kudos to you all for working it out, and sad for Nantucket to be losing that as part of its heritage. Nothing's perfect. No restaurant is perfect. So let's be serious. Let's be serious about trying to state some degree of perfection in that process. Anyways, thanks for listening.
Thank you, Barry. Meg, any other hands raised in the general public?
We have Jay Foley.
Okay, recognize Jay.
Hi, my name is Jay Foley. We live at 8 Charter Street, and we're direct visual abutters to the back building of 27 Fair Street. Let me first say that we're very encouraged with the progress of the negotiations, and we truly appreciate all the time and all the talent that's been put in by the planning board, Blue Flag, Arthur, Sarah, and all of our neighbors. There are, however, 2 issues that haven't been addressed so far, and I would just like to put them on the record for tonight and make sure that they're addressed in the conversations as they move forward. The first issue relates to the current plan for the interior of the back building at 27 Fair. It currently features, if I'm reading it the right way, 6 bedrooms and a full kitchen. I'm sure you'll agree that this kind of configuration would attract groups of wedding guests, girls' weekends, college reunions, and the like. We're concerned that in the spring and the summer and the fall, these groups would use this full kitchen, and the celebrations would undoubtedly spill out onto the patios and walkways. And we all know from the short-term rental discussions, on the island, that we know that these groups don't behave like homeowners or the longer-term seasonal renters that we welcome to this neighborhood every year. And that these groups are, here to party for a few days, and they don't really give a damn about disrupting the peace and quiet of this or any other residential neighborhood. So that's a concern with this full kitchen arrangement. We're also looking, at some of these preliminary agreements, and if breakfast and light fare, which I assume is small plates, and drinks are going to be available between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. at 29 Fair Street, then why would we need a full kitchen at 27 Fair Street? I just kind of wonder what the thinking is. I'm looking at the Faraway Hotel. They rent something called the Federal Suite, which is a 3-bedroom, freestanding structure with a full kitchen and a full bar. And I'm just wondering what the intent is here and if that's something that is going to disrupt the neighborhood. The second thing is the proposed amount of hardscaping behind 27 Fair and along Hillers Lane. The current plan, again, it looks kind of excessive and inappropriate for the historic neighborhood. There's all sorts of brick paving for parking spots and drop-off areas. I'm just eyeballing these plans and it looks to be like 900 square feet. If you combine that with these proposed stone patios and brick walkways, there's really no ground cover left. So we have really two issues with that. The amount of hardscaping would have a significant adverse effect on the scenic and historic integrity of the neighborhood. These are essentially commercial parking lots and active commercial driveways that are probably better suited for downtown. And the second issue with all this hardscaping is that there are existing and very serious drainage and wastewater management issues on Hillers already. These would be exacerbated by this amount of hardscaping. If you know the neighborhood, you know that the water flows downhill from the top of Fair Street and off of the back of Charter Street. It all ends up on the middle of Hillers Lane. And during the heavy rainstorm on the 4th of July weekend, 10 or 12 inches of rain accumulated in the middle of Hillers Lane. The storm drains are totally overwhelmed. A truck from the DPW spent more than an hour cleaning the drains out on July 11th. This was the same big DPW truck that cleared the drains after the flooding in the Silver Street parking lot. It blocked Hillers Lane for more than an hour, and God knows Hillers Lane has, traffic issues to begin with. So we're just proposed this hardscaping would eliminate all the open ground, including that small formal garden that everybody seems to like so much. And would just make an already bad flooding and drainage situation even worse. There's nowhere for the rain to go. The neighboring properties would be flooded. There'd be more pressure on DPW resources, as was the case on July 11th. And certainly the flooding would be an unpleasant consequence for any, guests of the inn and the hotel. So I just want to put those two issues on the record, flag them for all of us to continue, discussing. And again, thank you. We're very happy with the progress with the negotiations and hope that we can put these two issues on the table and continue this very positive path that we're on. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Sarah. Do they meet the zoning bylaws for ground cover and permeable surface? Or to staff?
Yes, they will. And currently, by special permit, they're supposed to have 4 parking spaces at 27 Fair. I don't know that those have ever been properly provided, and that's what we're attempting to do. We've also agreed, not that this is your thing, but we've agreed to work independently with the neighborhood to address issues of both drainage and landscaping and parking.
Great, thank you.
I see Brad's hand up. Brad?
Thank you. Brad Weed with Blue Flag. It's really confusing being the applicant because Arthur, who is representing numerous clients and apparently a voice of the neighborhood, is actually asked us to increase and add more parking versus what we currently have. And I've actually heard in public meetings, people like the formal gardens. And I was essentially told that that's not true anymore and that parking is what prevails. So I do need guidance from the planning board, and it can't all be a back and forth with the neighborhood, because there's a lot of opinions out there and we'll just never get there.
Thanks, Brad. Nat, I saw you.
Chairman,
I don't know if you were putting your hand up or.
Just let me just. Yeah, kinda. So the last speaker before Brad, I mean, we can't let a neighborhood this old with this many different issues turn into something beyond realistic. Okay, what Brad actually just said, I was thinking the same thing. We're complaining about parking, and all of a sudden now that's a problem that they're providing it or fixing what was never provided in the past or whatever. I think we just need to stick with the agreement that's been made on the general larger issues. Whether we as a board individually agree or not is irrelevant. We want this to remain. We don't want this to be a private home or two private homes or whatever. We want this to be done in a way that is best, mimicking what was in the past in today's standards. Okay, that's what we're talking about. All that other stuff is, Hill is Lane having traffic issues. So does every other street in that area. If you want to go down that road, we'll never leave the meeting. We'll be barbecuing together on Zoom. So I would just say that I think the agreement is good, as we previously discussed. I do have a question though for Sarah and Megan, or some, I guess, is do we continue this for a formal set of conditions, Sarah, or can we vote on this with what was sent to us and what we discussed?
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Through you, I would like to leave here tonight with a vote by the board closing the public hearing, and hopefully, I hope you will grant the special permit. I think we meet the requirements of a special permit. And then we would work with staff and with Mr. Reed to draft something for you to
sign in the office.
For you to sign in the office.
Yep, that was my next
I completely agree with Sarah. I think
so that's good.
Covered everything that needs to be covered.
So if I may.
Very good.
I'd just like to comment too. While I appreciate Mr. Foley's comments, I just was wondering, number one, if obviously he's in the immediate vicinity, if he was part of the group that Arthur had initially raised to represent 43 people. And if he wasn't, I'm curious as to why he wasn't. Obviously, he had some issues, and it would have been a great service to be voiced altogether in discussions and negotiations. And with one particular neighbor, I don't want to revisit all the good that was worked out over the last many months of discussions, meetings, deliberations at the 24th hour to try and appease everyone. This is a discussion that had taken place, and there's a lot of compromises that are being made. As Carl had said, it's pretty impressive to get, as we'll say, 48, but I'm sure there are a lot more, personalities, opinions, all on the same page. It just won't happen. So when we look at it as the best situation that we can get out of it for as long as we've discussed it, I think we've made incredible headway. And I actually am in agreement with Sarah and Arthur that we discussed this in detail, and I would like to come to a resolution and an agreement and a decision tonight. So that's my position, and I'd like to hear. We can keep on discussing and talking about it, and another issue could come up, and we can extend it from now until 3 years from now. As we had said, the wood box, for whatever it was, it's a its past glory has not been that way. And we've watched it deteriorate to a point where you couldn't even shut the door if you've gone by that site and water was coming in. So all the progress and things that we've made, we have a ready, willing, and able company that has taken over a very, very expensive project that is only going to enhance the neighborhood from the aesthetics. And I think as far as the concerns, we're not just giving them the go-ahead. We've really pounded out a lot of things, and we've come to a mutual compromise from not only the town's position, but the neighborhood position and the private blue flag position. So I think, I don't know what more people want, honestly. I'm very happy with what we've accomplished with so many different parties. And there's a saying, you can please some of the people some of the time, but not all the people all the time. And I think this is that perfect situation. So I don't want to lecture, and I think we've discussed it. I'm happy to hear from other people, but for me, I'll be quiet after this. I'm happy to hear from others, but I'm ready. Carl?
Just a procedural comment through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Lowell. I'm reading from Ms. Alger's email this afternoon. It is our expectation that these items will be included as conditions in any special permit relief granted by the board, and that the management plans be incorporated into the decision as exhibits. And Mr. Lowell, you may not have seen that email. It came in late at 4:10.
No,
it's my understanding that the decision will incorporate many parts of the management plans that are in place and agreed to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did see it.
Dave?
Yeah.
Noted. Thank you, Nat. Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've tied their hands behind their back. We've blindfolded them. We've walked them to the plank. I'm with you, John. We need to vote on this. We need to move forward. They've given up more than enough here, and again, it's a special permit, so we can revisit it. Enough's enough. Thanks.
Thank you. Barry?
Thanks. Just one thing, I'm a little troubled that why am I hearing parking come up again last minute here from the applicant? I mean, as far as I know, that's why I was asking about the site plan having changed. I mean, because as far as I know, what was happening were there were landscape patios and stuff like that happening, and parking was at a bare minimum, if not at all. Is something changing that we should all be aware of here? I know the attorneys are going to hammer it out afterwards, but I'm just really unclear why all of a sudden that's come back on the deck. So can someone maybe explain that, or was that just?
I think Sarah has her hand up to.
Yeah,
respond,
please,
Barry.
please.
Go ahead,
I
Sarah.
do. We're not proposing any changes from the site plan that was presented in June.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, because I just like my peers, I'm ready to close this thing.
Great.
Thank you.
Meg, I'll look to you for new comments from new people.
So William Fordyce has his hand raised. If you're taking second rounds, Hank Gutman does as well. That's your call.
Okay, I'll hear from Will.
I've lived at 3 Darling Street now for over 80 years. And we've always cooperated with the neighbors. And I think we will continue to cooperate with the neighbors. I have 2 issues that direct to butter issues. And I noticed that Sarah supported the problem with the drainage I have at 29 from the roof at 29. Where the water drains down into the gutter, down the downspout. and into a 15-inch area, which is the distance between their cottage and mine. And I think that, if Brad and I, went over there, I think we could work out a workable solution for it. Now, the other thing is about parking. Now, I do recognize that functionally, we need to take care of deliveries, pickups and drop-offs, and do something with handicap parking. However, there are other issues that are out there. Safety is a major issue, and I'll get into that in a minute. Traffic flow, flooding. Now, Jay Foley talked about the flooding that we had around the 4th of July. Well, that's not the time of year when you have the major flooding on Hillis Lane, unfortunately. What it is, it's in the wintertime. In the wintertime, what happens is you get a rainstorm and it turns to snow or something, everything ices up. And then you just get a flood out there because there's nowhere for the water to drain. The other things about parking out there are noise and aesthetics. As far as safety, Hillis Lane is a major cut through from Pleasant Street to High Street to Hillis Lane to Fair to Main. Now, there's moderate traffic. It's not like it was in the 40s and 50s when there was two-way traffic, both on there, Hillis Lane and Fair Street. And there were, at that time, 15 garages on Hillis Lane. Hillis Lane is very dangerous. There are no sidewalks. I used to have window planters in front of the windows. Those have been knocked off, the supports, and I haven't put them back. My tenants at 2 Hillis Lane, they don't use the front door because of the traffic danger. Another time when I was painting on the second floor trim, somebody hit my ladder while I was up there painting. Fortunately, I was able to stabilize it. What they did is they came back around the corner, swore at me, and went on. But it's very narrow out there. I have a granite post out there to protect the northwest corner of the cottage. That's been knocked over several times and reset. In summary, the executive committee has reached an agreement with Blue Flag relative to the main neighborhood issues. I plan to meet with Blue Flag both for the drainage problem and for the parking at 27 Fair Street. And I think we can work out something for both of those items that is agreeable to all. By the way, the parallel parking on Hillis Lane, I don't support that. But I do support down below traffic parking down below where we can accommodate all of the functions that need to happen there, as well as doing it safely. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, I'll let you respond.
I don't know that I should.
Okay, then leave it at that.
I think we should just move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the board is at the same point. I don't want to open it up for a back and forth to repeat, but if there's someone new, Meg, obviously I'd like to hear from someone new with a comment.
No, there's no one.
Okay, board members, any other comments, or would there be a motion?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made to close by Dave, seconded by Carl. Roll call. Dave.
Aye. Aye, do you get me?
Yes, sorry, I'm just checking. Did
Carl, myself,
Yeah,
you
who
and
was
Barry.
I'm sorry, did I say Carl who was the second?
He's on this.
Carl's on it.
Carl is the
Okay.
second, John.
There.
Okay, I was just seeing
And
who was removed.
I'm
I
on
just
this
want-
as well.
Yeah, this is important. I just want to make sure we have the right people. Okay, roll call. Dave? To close the public hearing.
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
Nat?
Aye.
And Barry?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Board members, we're at that point. Is there a motion? Take your time.
I'll make a
Barry,
motion
you
to
got-
approve.
While we're just thinking and discussing, as in staff recommendation packlets that we've seen, there was a note for additional construction shall be made in substantial compliance with the site plans submitted. I would like to also have considered for construction for neighborhood summer, what we've done in the past in downtown. Consider the June through the September relief for construction not to take place in that particular time period, as we would with the downtown.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chair, with that provision for construction window from June 15 to September 15 be prohibited. And as well as the conditions that have been laid out based on the management plan. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, and I don't want to jump in with the procedures, but not only the management plan, that was also existing proposed conditions, landscape plan, lighting plans, the recent certificate of inspection, et cetera, existing and proposed bedroom counts as we discussed. So those.
Fire suppression, please.
Okay, so all of that, not just the management plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So
Okay.
moved.
Okay, there's a motion
Second.
made by Carl and seconded by
Dave.
Dave.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor by roll call. Carl,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Barry.
Aye, with some reluctance, but aye.
Aye is it, and the chair votes aye, unanimous. Thank you very much again. This was a really tough one. It's not easy. We'll probably hear some negative, but I like to look at all the positive. My cup is half full on this, so thank you all for everyone's patience.
I would just want to thank Mr. Reed and his clients as well as the board for their patience in getting us through this process. Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, that's reciprocated.
Thank you. All right, we're now on to, I believe, public comments. Sarah, you want to make a public comment? Your hand's raised.
I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay, next planning board meeting for other business, we have scheduled for Monday, September 12th at 4 o'clock. If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move, sir.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made to adjourn by Barry, seconded by Dave. Roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you all very much, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
Good night,
And
everyone.
thank you,
Night,
staff.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye, thanks,
Night,
guys.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good night, all.
Thank you.